Do you find yourself searching, yearning for more, but you don't know what that more is? I'm Catherine Duncan, near-death survivor, mystic, and intuitive. Welcome to Everyday Awakening. On this podcast, I explore what it means to be alive. I help you awaken into your soul and live fully now. Through inspiring conversations, we'll dive into mindfulness, spirituality, and the transformative power of presence and living aligned with this universal energy. Together, we'll examine life's biggest questions, and I'll share practical wisdom to help you open your heart and awaken to the preciousness of being alive. I'm back today with a solo podcast, sharing thoughts and gleanings on my journey. You think you've opened and expanded, and then the universe has a way to show you that you have more to learn. Guidance is always here. To become who we're called to be in this world means listening within. Are you open to growing, unfolding, becoming who you're called to be on this earth? It takes silence, listening, courage to go within. We are guided every day. These opportunities are here for all of us. We just need to be open. As I share this, I'm opening more every day. I write a book on awakening, and watch out. An awakening, opening, a moment came to me recently and unexpectedly through my husband, Scott. My husband, a businessman on the quiet side, doesn't say a lot, but when he does, you need to listen. The joke in our family is if Scott dives into a topic, offers insight, listen. Recently, late at night, he started talking about how I'm missing the mark with my book, my podcast, what I'm doing. He said, "You're at a turning point." I looked at him dumbfounded. He continued and said, "You need to fully name what you went through as a childhood cancer survivor, a first generation of survivors, and how this cracked you open to God, to presence at 11. He continued this diatribe for over an hour. I felt unease moving through my body. I thought, I wish he'd stop. I felt overwhelmed. I just couldn't hear anymore. The unease I felt was because I had spent my adult life distancing myself from this narrative of having childhood cancer, and now it was being pushed down my throat. I was no longer hiding. Finally, I got away from him and I went to bed. The next day, I talked with a few other people in my life, and they all agreed. I sat with the unease for a few days, noticing it just moving through my body. Then it came to me, just do it. The next day, while on the phone with my media person, we made all the changes on all my social media sites, my website, and we changed it to, here's where we landed. At 11, cancer opened me into a consciousness of God and life. An hour later, when all the changes were made, I sat down and I started crying. Another layer from my childhood was coming through me to let go. I felt an opening. For the first time, I was no longer hiding myself. There it was, out in the world. As tears streamed down my face, my breath felt more expansive. I prayed, and then I heard, "I'm here with you." A relief, an openness came through me. I have shared my childhood cancer experience on many interviews, podcasts, TV, media outlets over the last year. And yet, my childhood cancer story was not integrated in my brand, my messaging, my website. This was the crisis that cracked me open and awakened me at 11. I look back and understand that as a child, if I didn't tell anyone, I thought I could pretend it didn't happen. In my middle 20s, I started having nightmares sitting up in bed in the middle of the night, thinking I was taking my last breath. I knew I had to look inward. I also didn't know how to think in the future. I only knew how to think and be in the present moment. And when my boyfriend, soon-to-be husband Scott, mentioned marriage, I had an anxiety attack. I couldn't breathe. Again, I knew I had to look inward to heal. I found a therapist that I could not control, and he said, "We will talk about your childhood cancer experience or I will not see you." My healing journey began. As I reflect, there were moments on my path where I was met as a child. I remember my father, who's been gone for many years, one day driving me to school. It was 6th grade, and I looked over at him in the car, and he was wearing a toupee. I looked again, and then he said, "Like you, I'm wearing a toupee. We are in this together." I pulled down the bandana over my wig and smiled. Later that week, I vividly remember on the playground, a boy came up to me and yelled, "Baldy," at me, right in my face. A group of kids on the playground ganged up on him and made him stop. I felt supported by my peers. And my mom, who was always with me when I'd go to the hospital to have chemotherapy once a week. This went on for 18 months, and I'd be up in the night, halfway through the night, throwing up really sick because they had no anti-nausea drugs in the 70s. My mom was there. And when my mom was sick or not able to be with me, my sister Nancy would fill in and help. And she was only a few years older than me, and she took over my mom's role. The message is, are you willing to continue to open? Life is complicated, and it's easy to shut down when life is hard. Doubting ourselves, feeling a lack within, insecure, not good enough. And what I've learned is that divine wisdom comes in unexpected ways. We are not alone. We are guided on our path. I believe we are called on this earth to keep learning and growing and opening until the day we die. To open our heart, to come into our soul, to feel into the oneness of this universal energy. And this can be hard when life is challenging. I've been contemplating life and why we're alive since a child. And this past week, a client out of nowhere in a session shared with me a quote. Here it is. "You cannot expand if you're not willing to bump against your own growth edges." I just smiled. This is my path, why I wrote my book, why I started this podcast, to open the discussion on why are we here, what does it mean to be alive, how do we live a full, vibrant life. Every day is an awakening opportunity. I awakened even deeper through this interaction with Scott, and I feel even more whole and grounded and alive. To be alive is a gift. All you have to do is say yes. I can't wait to share with you future episodes of Everyday Awakening Season 2 this fall. Thank you so much for joining Everyday Awakening. Let's keep the conversation going online. You can follow me on Instagram at Catherine Duncan, MABCC. And to keep up to date on the show, subscribe on iTunes and leave a review. I'd love to hear from you.